more in terms of business management and administration. And so there are in-person classes where you have to actually be in the classroom in the space to be able to talk through. The course content and all that. The online is basically self-paced, so meaning you can be working full time, but then as at when you have class, you need to join and then kind of put in your assignment, maybe your learning journals, reflections that you have to submit and all that. And then there's a hybrid component. The hybrid component is that you are doing both the online and also the in-person one. And so some classes can be online, others can also be some form of in person. And so that's the hybrid component. I just want the presentation to be that it doesn't necessarily mean you coming to the US to pursue graduate studies. You can also be in Ghana and still pursue graduate studies. But my content is basically based on graduate studies abroad. But I'll try my best possible to make sure that I'm also adding the Ghana aspect as well. And so the question people ask is that, is graduate school easy? Is it something I can really do? Because I know people are talking about, getting a master's and a PhD at UCC, Legon Tech is very difficult. How compared to the US as well? And people will say, studying in the US, Canada, other countries, it's a bit difficult. The most important thing is that if you have an academic mentor, it's kind of a very smooth journey for you to go. In our life, every point in our life, we need people who guide us. And so I say that building your support network before you even start this whole graduate studies thing is the most important aspect of you getting a graduate degree. And so how do you get these people? Probably you've worked with professors, you've worked with administrators on your campus. The person that does not necessarily have to be someone who has taught you. I always talk to Eda George so much because he always advises us and all that. And so that person can also serve as your faculty or academic mentor. And so you can also get professional contact. Maybe you've worked after your bachelor's, you worked in maybe any bank or any company. And you think that person, looking at the motivation that people they have been giving you, can really help you in your graduate school. Those are the people you can also connect with in terms of building that support network. And the most important aspect, especially for folks who are looking into studying outside, is the graduate school advisors. I do rely solely on graduate school advisors because they are appointed, that's basically their job. So you are appointed as an academic advisor to be advising graduate students, either prospective students or, admitted graduate students. And so these people offers a lot of opportunities for you, a lot of information and knowledge for you to know about the programs that are being offered, the prospects in these programs, and how this program can lend you in your one way or the other, your career. And so these are other people that you can also reach out to. I'm a very top guy who love LinkedIn. So probably those who are on LinkedIn have seen me talk about LinkedIn or maybe on other social media. Probably maybe bragging about LinkedIn as a social media tool for graduate students. Most often we find ourselves in schools that we're mostly enthused about getting the GPA. So it becomes very difficult for us to connect with people who are like-minded folks in education or the graduate school journey to support us. The most important thing you have to do is also use a LinkedIn as a tool for connecting with alumni in your field of study. And so let's say you did biochemistry. You are now looking into graduate studies in the UK, in Canada, probably in Ghana. You want to look at people who have done graduate studies in biochemistry. You can put in biochemistry and then put in the name of the school on LinkedIn, and then you are probably going to get more than hundreds of people in that program as alumni. You can connect with these people. Hello, my name is George. I'm interested in the program that you read during your your master's, and I want to ask some few questions or connect with you for one or the other academic mentorship to seek your advice and all that and your counsel. Those people, because they've been through the journey and currently they've actually using their degree to work in the field that they find themselves in, always has one way or the other the better responses to give to you, as well as motivations that you need for you to start your graduate school journey. And so I truly recommend LinkedIn as a great platform for people who are looking into connecting with faculty mentors, professional networks, and also alumni and graduate school advisors. Now, the next important thing I'm going to talk about is job market exploration. Most often we don't talk about this, especially when people are like, oh, I just want to go to the US to go and study. When I'm done with my studies, that's the end. People don't talk about, oh, where do you see yourself after your studies? Are you coming back? Or even if you are in the States, are you going to land a job? And so I normally talk about job market exploration even before you start your graduate studies. So what roles are in demand in your field, in your current field that you find yourself in? Ask yourself some of these questions. I mean, what are the roles that are currently in demand if you are, in the STEM program or the health sector? Oh, you want to look at, is it only that I can pursue nursing? Because mostly people brag and talk about nursing as a field that you can use to get a straight kind of green card, or probably get permanent residency in US, Canada, and other countries. But there are a lot of fields that you can do. People are into gerontology. People are doing aging studies where they are studying, the aged, and then trying to provide them with interventions to support the aged. That is another field that people are not really exploring to. So it dawns on you to be able to look at the roles that are in demand in the field that you are going in. It doesn't necessarily have to even be that, okay, I did education, I'm actually interested in gerontology. What happens? Yeah, if you apply for the program and you meet the criteria that they have given you, most often they are not looking into you having a first kind of bachelor's program or experience in that field before you apply for that. There are some programs that allows you to do that. You can explore those ones as well. Where to find market info, you have to also look at that. There are a lot of places you can look at jobs in your field. And so you can look at maybe the Bureau of Labor Statistics, where you can find information about, people in engineering, electrical engineering, people in education, teachers, how they are paid. You can look at even state by state. You can look at country by country, the number of employers that are opened every year, the number of jobs that are issued out every year. That's another way of you trying to know that if I'm going to pursue this master's or graduate program, the prospects are high for me. You can also look at professional associations. Every program, I would say, in the world do have professional associations. If you are in the field of, let's say, engineering, there's the National Black Engineers Association, where students during conferences can present. They can meet outstanding people in the field, alumni in such programs, companies, network with them, ask companies about the offerings they have in terms of job employment and all that. And so those are the other places can also look into exploring graduate program and then the prospects within the program that you're actually seeking admission into. The next thing is also job boards. Job boards are a lot. There are lots of job boards out there. I prefer Indeed and also LinkedIn. And then in my field of study or most education programs and teaching professional programs and all that, you can also use higher ed jobs. Now, these platforms offers a list of institutions, companies that are currently open and then trying to employ people into their field. And so you can use Indeed.com, you can use LinkedIn, you can just search for the job part of LinkedIn, job search, where you look at, okay, I'm interested in getting a teaching assistantship. Let me see the openings in there. You can see selected offices, campuses, schools, and other things that are offering those jobs that you are looking for. So if you're able to do this, then you know that you have a clear path. Apart from that, I do have to also say that as time goes by, things keep changing. A lot of policies comes in. Government policies also interfere with some of these employment rates and all that. But I still kind of, you have a conviction that if I'm going to read, let's say, music education, mostly people may not value music education in Ghana. Is it a prospect for me in the United States? Because people are reading maybe music engineering, like a lot of programs with concentrations in maybe autism studies and all that. And so those are the areas you may also want to look at, so that you know that if you have this program, if you move to one field to the other field you are moving in qualifies you for a greater future. And so that's one thing I want people to also kind of take note of before they move into graduate school. Yeah. I think the next thing is the graduate school dream vision. I've already talked about full-time or part-time. If you are someone who wants to enter graduate school and you want to also be paying a bit of your school fees, so you want to work it and then combine it with studies, that's a great opportunity for you to do. I remember when I was in the University of Cape Coast, I was doing teaching, I was helping my professors teaching, helping administrative staffs while also trying to get my master's degree done. And so that's another opportunity you may also want to look at. If you want to look at the United States or Canada, UK, and other countries, China, South Korea, and all that, you want to also consider the ideal city and then the region. I'm saying this because it's in the United States, for instance, where I have most expertise in, you don't necessarily have to move to any state to go and study in your field of program. Maybe you may want to go and study a program like counseling in, let's say, Illinois. Maybe the degree you're going to offer will not qualify you to work in the state of maybe Massachusetts or the state of New York. And so you may want to consider, if I pursue this program in this state in the United States, does it qualify me to to work in other places after my graduation? So those are the questions you need to ask yourself. Apart from that, you're also asking yourself about, what type of environment do I want to see myself in? Do I want to work in a city like New York, Chicago, Boston, Los Angeles, those big cities that comes with a lot of expenses and then high living expenses? So you want to also look at that, because there are some places in the United States that, international students don't even want to go there. There are states in Wyoming, there are states like South Dakota, North Dakota, Alaska, Fairbanks, all those areas that people are not really exploring those areas because they've just been hearing Chicago, they've been hearing those top cities. So most often students draw their attention to the state that they know. And so it's important that even when you go to the state, you come down to the levels of the cities in the state, because some of the schools are urban, universities and colleges where they've actually separated themselves from the entire community, right? And so that's one way or the other, college campus. And so those places are just strictly for college, academic work and other stuffs. And those places are a bit, some way, depending on the state that you find yourself in, are a bit less expensive. And so I take a state for like certain schools I can mention, like maybe Illinois State schools like Illinois State University, Eastern Illinois University, Southern Illinois University, Edwardsville, and Campbell. Those places you can get accommodation around like $230, $450. But you come to a state like New York, you're actually paying more than $1,000 in terms of accommodation, and it's the same housing, structure or floor plan that you have. If you have 2-bedroom apartment there, someone is also having the same 2-bedroom apartment with other things that comes with it, and then the utilities. You may want to also look at that. I have like 5 people who are currently also church members in North Dakota State University. And when I talk to them, I pay $230 for a month for my apartment because living expenses are very low there. And so they kind of cap those things for people to be able to pursue their graduate studies dream. And so you want to also look at that because the region and then the ideal city also count in terms of the total expenses you want to make for the whole academic year. And so that's why when you take people who have come here, probably you hear them, they say, my total cost of attendance at Illinois is maybe $34,000. But you come to a state like Massachusetts, Boston, you are paying like maybe $90,000 in a school like Northeastern University or maybe Harvard. And so those are the important things. Additionally, I also want to emphasize on size and culture of the campus. I'm really interested in the campus size and also the culture of the campus, because as an international student, there are a lot of things that happens to us, especially when you are studying in a different country. You can get homesickness, you can get cultural shocks, a lot of things. You can be lonely, you can find your place in an environment where you're actually lonely, you don't have anyone to talk to unless you hear from mommy, daddy, family, or maybe your wife or your husband. And so the most important thing for you to also take into consideration is, where is my school located? How is the campus culture there? There are some schools they really tolerate international students. There are some states, even in the United States, that do tolerate international students, regardless of where you are coming from. They embrace you. And the state I always vouch for is the state of Ohio. There are a lot of Black communities there, and so when you go there, you find yourself comfortable. Having said that, the other schools that you may find yourself in a white institution, we call them predominantly white institutions and colleges. And those places, you may think that maybe you may not find that campus culture you are looking for, where you feel belonged and also accepted. You also want to talk about these stuffs when you meet those alumni. Oh, I can see that you pursued your master's here at the University of so and so. I just want to know, do you were you feeling the African community there whilst you were studying there, and what are the things I have to know about this school? So these are some questions you may also want to ask. In the United States, all universities and colleges try their possible best to make sure that the class is not really overloaded. And it's the same thing that applies to Canada and other UK schools. And so you also want to look at, the size of the school, or maybe the size of the classroom. If you are looking for top land grant universities, public universities, and top private, universities, automatically you should know that the campus size is very much, higher as compared to looking at a school that it's actually a bit not ranked more or higher. And so let's say you find yourself in Harvard, there are over maybe 30,000 students in Harvard. But you go to a school like Eastern Illinois University, or maybe University of South Dakota or North Dakota, and then the student population there isn't really huge. And that also accounts to the point where if you are looking for support, there are a lot of people there to support you. Apart from that, if there are job openings in the school, because the graduate population is not that higher, there are chances that you can actually push through to be able to secure some form of funding and scholarship to come and study in such schools. I already mentioned desired community, and I mentioned also diverse, inclusive, and innovative environment. If you want to pursue a program that is related to innovation, you want to be in a place where innovation is actually happening. So if I want to pursue maybe computer science, I'm looking at those states and communities where they embrace people with that knowledge. And so maybe even though cost of attendance may be high in California, I'll be interested in going to California or maybe Georgia State or Chicago to be able to get that degree, because when you finish, the prospects are very high there for you, because that's how the community is actually made up of. And so you talk around that one. I already mentioned inclusive. Are they willing to welcome you to their campus? What are students talking about in terms of ratings out there about the school? And there are a lot of websites you can actually use to check the kind of messages and comments people are passing about the school, even those who are currently domestic people. And so you can use maybe niche.com to look at those rankings. You can also look at Rate My School and other stuff to be able to see where people are talking about the school. And most of them are actually alumni people. And some questions that we do have about graduate school, and of which is very important that we talk about, is what is the funding availability? For me, coming from a very humble background. I'm not saying I come from a poor background. God has been, grateful to us. We have something to leverage on at the end of the day. But then looking at me coming to the state of Massachusetts to study, my parents, the whole entire family cannot gather around like $90,000 or $100,000 every year to support my education. And so I was very straight about how I'm going to pay my education when I move from Ghana to the States. So that's the most important question you need to also ask yourself. I know people have a lot of people that they can help you, maybe your uncle, your siblings can support your education, but it's not really easy here as compared to how you may picture it when you are in Ghana and you see people studying in other countries. And so ask yourself and ask the program you are trying to apply to. I have a current GP of so and so, and I have 5 years work experiences as a teaching assistant. I've been able to do this. I've done this. I just want to know, program coordinator, what are the funding availability for me? Then some of them will open to also. We have graduate assistantship, which is very competitive for you to get in. And then we have scholarship, merit-based scholarships, and other fellowships that we give out. So if you have that information, you know that, okay, so if I put in a good application, I should be able to get some kind of scholarship. And for me personally, I love to preach about funding, because as an international student, a lot can happen to you when you get into the state. And so if you have a good funding, probably you're working for the school and the school is paying you some little stipend of, let's say, maybe $1,000. You use maybe 500 to rent, maybe 200 for your groceries and other things. You have like 300 where you can send maybe a part of 100 maybe for your tithe and your offering, and also send some 100 back home. Maybe if the dollar rate is around 20 to 1, you have like maybe 2,000 every month given to the family for them to support them, because you know the system back home. And so that's the most important thing I always share with folks, to kind of take a critical look at it. Additionally, you also want to look at research experience that is required. There are some programs you may have to do a research. So if you are not looking for a research program, you may want to go with a non-thesis program, because a thesis program means that at the end of it, or the 2 years, or maybe 4 years, or 5 years, 6 years in the PhD program, you are going to do a research. So if you are someone who is not really enthused, you don't love much of research, you just want to go with a non-thesis program, that you get your coursework and then you are done with the program. And in terms of research, especially for those who are interested in coming out for PhD and masters, you need to take a critical look at, this research that the school is doing, or your department is doing, how is it being impactful to maybe countries? How is it being accepted globally? Because there are some schools and some programs that you go and do the research, and the research remains in the archives. Like, it doesn't really put up anything. Especially for those in the STEM programs, research are supposed to be solving problems and coming up with new ideas. So you want to look at a school that, or the department that the research they are doing is something that you fit in, something that you can do to be able to reach that career goal you always dream about. And then I already talked about programs reputation, right? If I want to apply to a school, it doesn't necessarily mean that because you want to come to a country like the US to come and study, you are just applying to schools. No, we don't do it that way. You want to look at a school that, if someone hears that, this person is actually studying in this school, or this person is an alumni of this school, that one alone carries weight. So that's why we have always branded Harvard. We have always branded Yale University, Brown University, Dartmouth College, University of College of William and Mary, those top Ivy League schools, both private and public universities. And so immediately you come up from those schools, you know the alumni connection and alumni strength is very huge. And so when you're applying for jobs, you will see, even on LinkedIn, when you search, you will see that if you are coming from maybe University of Massachusetts, you will see, current alumni who are actually working there. And that's an opportunity for you to be able to connect with those people. I was applying for this job in your company, and I realized that you currently work there. I also graduated from this school and I'm an alumni. That's an opportunity. And the same way that it works in our country, where network connections work, recommendation works, it works in every country. And so you want to look at a school that, when you graduate from this school, like, you're actually coming from a good school, and the alumni strength is very, very important. And the same thing applies to the program's reputation. You don't want to end up in a program where you will finish the 2 years, 4 years, 6 years in a program, and you will not be able to do anything with the program or the studies that the years that you went through in grad school. And so that's another question that you need to also ask about the program's reputation if you have the opportunity to meet the graduate school coordinators and advisors. The other internships and assistantship opportunities. So last night I was talking to people who joined my TikTok live about, most often when we are coming to the US, Canada, other countries to come and study, we don't come with a plan as an international student. According to research, 85% of students don't have any specific plan when they want to transition to come and study in the US. As an international student, you'll be going on a summer. So currently we are on summer break from the month of May to the month of beginning of August. Now, within these 3 months, you are not working. For some programs, if you give you the graduate assistantship, it lasts for just 10 months. From August, which is the first semester, to May, the following academic year, spring semester. And after that, you are not working. And you have to eat. You have to send money home, because siblings, mommy, daddy, they are waiting for Kwabena to send some money home. And here is the case, you are not working. So how do you cope with that? You're also paying for your rent, because you can't go back to Ghana within that 3 months to go and stay there and then come back. especially when we know that policies can change. And so you want to look at, opportunities in the program that you find yourself in, internships. So if the program will offer you an opportunity for you to have an internship, because something curricular, training thing that we do. So CPT, you from that month, the 3 months, you actually having your internship, either internship, externship, or some kind of interdisciplinary study with a professor in the school, which pays you, so that you'll be able to accommodate yourself for that. Month that you are not taking classes or you are not doing any coursework and other stuffs, and that gives you more experiences. From where we are coming from, mostly our schools don't preach about doing internships. And so someone can be in a school for 4 years, just building a good GPA, 4.0, 5.0, 3.0, and other stuff. And then they end up not having any experiences. It doesn't really work here in most states and then most countries in the global world. You need to expose yourself to having experiences, hands-on experiences. So ask yourself, is this program that I'm going to have, even though I'm not going to have an internship, is that an opportunity for me to work as a graduate assistant, where maybe teaching research, administrative ones, or maybe be on a fellowship that I'll be doing the research with a faculty member to gain more experiences? Because at the end of it, or when you're looking for the job, they are not going to ask your GPA. They are not going to ask you to bring your transcript out, because they have access to those ones already. They can do a background check to know all those ones from your school. But then they want to know, what skills, experiences do you come with to come and work as maybe a civil engineer? If you want to become a teacher, it may be a community college. They want to ask you, what are your experiences, in the field of, teaching? And so that's kind of a period where you are breaking from academic work. It's another period you can take up an internship to be able to equip yourself in the field that you find yourself in. And some of these internships actually pays you. I always challenge international students to go for an internship that pays them something within the summer break, so that you can accommodate yourself. And there are a lot of them. There are a lot of internships where they can pay for your tuition. No, even if you are taking summer classes, they will pay for your tuition. They will pay for your housing. They will pay for your meal plan, the food and everything that you'll be doing. They will cater for that, and also your health insurance. And so that's something that you need to also explore before you begin the journey of, okay, let me now put in the applications. My next slide actually talks about searching for the graduate program. And I've already mentioned ask experts, compare programs. It's very important. So when I was doing my application, I wasn't really faced to just religious studies. Even though I have a religious studies background and a history background, I went into comparing the programs that I can get in. So I actually looked at criminal justice and law. That was something I was interested in a master's program. I looked at international relations because I was also interested in United Nations staffs. I also looked into, theology, because I'm having religious background education. And I also looked into history and then higher education. But then at the end of it all, the self-reflection will inform you where to go. So I did a good self-reflection of myself, where my strength lies. And I realized that, I love being in the classroom, in the space, supporting student growth and helping students succeed whilst they are in college. Then my field of study that I have to look at is higher education and student affairs. So self-reflection is very important and crucial for this journey. And sometimes you may not even develop the experience. You may not have the undergraduate degree that you had straightly in that program. But then if you get admission into it, you begin to love it. And so that's what I did. And so try to compare programs and see where it's important for you. And then comparison, you need to look at reputation, research and opportunities, financial aid, the funding aspect, location, and then also the cost. And you can also visit the schools if possible. It's very difficult if you're in Ghana and someone is telling you that visit the schools. So some of the programs do have what you call information session, where you meet faculty members in the program, current students from the program. Sometimes they invite alumni from the program to come and talk about, after taking this program, I'm currently here, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Then you know that, okay, this program has a good reputation, and then the opportunities out there for me are numerous. And so that's another important thing you need to also consider whilst doing the graduate search stuffs. Now, There are a lot of timelines. Mostly, uh, people think, oh, I can apply to the programs anytime I want to. No, it doesn't really work like that. So currently, we are in the summer break. From now to August, faculty members are either attending conferences, presenting at places, or maybe engaged in maybe sabbatical leave. They are actually out of academic work and focusing on their family and all that. Now, some of them, you see them being active on LinkedIn. And so if I see a faculty member I'm actually interested in working with in my PhD thesis or my PhD dissertation, and the person is actually on LinkedIn commenting, putting something on social media, it means that person is having time. So for me, quickly, either I reach out to the person on LinkedIn or through an email. And so some of them would reply to you during this summer break because the fall semester, which is from August to December, they're actually doing academic work. And so when you send the emails, they decide to reply. Sometimes they can even give it to someone to just reply the email for them because they just don't want to reply because they receive a lot of emails. So I advise my people, start having a timeline for yourself. You can start emailing these people like 30 emails, 50 emails, and none of them will reply to you. That doesn't mean you should stop. That's not the end of the journey. You still have to keep on pursuing the graduate school dream. And so I would say that through those time, have a timeline for yourself. Currently, some schools have opened their applications in Canada, UK, and the United States for next year. And so this is how the timeline works. In the month of August, September, October, that is for spring semester 2026. And so spring semester is the month of either January, February to March, April, May, depending on the school that you are. And so that time, you need to make sure you have submitted your applications by October. Either first week of October. I always advise people because if you are looking at a country like the United States, you are now coming to sit down, get all your documents ready, go through institutional, bureaucratic stuff before you get your I-20, before you get your funding signed by the school by yourself, and then you actually apply for your visa. And so it's important that if you are looking into spring 2026, you start now. This is the right time. By September ending, you should have submitted all your applications to the schools. And then if you are looking into the fall semester, no, the summer, let me talk about summer. The summer semester, you can also start your application starting from August. You get to your admission, your funding, stay in Ghana, do the work you are doing in the church, do the work you are doing academically with the family, and then in the summer semester, which starts from May, you come and start your studies. If you are looking into the fall semester, the fall admissions also start from the month of August. It goes through to sometimes April, sometimes May, March, February, depending on the school you're applying to. So always follow the school timeline that they give you. If they say that 1st of April, 15th of April is the deadline for their graduate program, that's the time that when you put in a good application, they will consider you for the funding. Sometimes they will say, oh, rolling admission. So rolling admission means that you can apply anytime, right? But depending on if the program has the funding still available for you. And so I always advise people just to go with to meet the deadline that those schools are giving them. And we shouldn't forget, it takes a very long period of time for our faculty members in Ghana or our professional recommenders to send in their recommendation letters on our behalf. Sometimes it can take 2 months, it can take a month, depending on the person's schedule. And so make sure you're also factoring in those aspects. You can begin filling the application, you send in the person's details, the recommendation email will be sent to the person. Then you keep on reminding the person, oh, hello, Professor so and so. I sent this, as we discussed the last time. I sent in this recommendation letter from this school. I'll be glad if you can complete it for me at your convenience. So that person can do that for you, right? Because it takes a number of time. And so I would say that talk to the professors and professionals. Sometimes some of the professors will tell you, oh, our application deadline is this. I also mentioned target programs and their deadlines as well. If you are applying for a program that needs standardized tests or GRE, GMAT, and those ones to take, I would say that this is the right time for you to register for your GRE, your GMAT, your TOEFL, anything that you need to take. This is the right time for you to start working on that. and approximately your application deadline should be within 3 months. So 3 months before the deadline, you can take your test, request for letters of recommendation, prepare your personal statement, your resume, your transcript, your CV, other things ready. So from now to the month of August, this is the job you can do for yourself. And so I've currently opened a program called Ubuntu Rising Scholars Program. There are a lot of country people, I mean, even in the global south and then Asian countries who have also applied and they'll be accepted into the program. And that's the period that we are giving them mentorship. And so this period, you are listening to me, you're lucky, we are having the first summer session of studying, for graduate school. So this is the time for you to start working. The month of August, you begin filling the application, and that time you are also emailing the faculty members, introducing yourself. As at then, you have your personal statement, your statement of purpose, your writing samples, all those things ready, because you don't just sit and then apply and thinking that the school will admit you. You need to make sure you're putting in a very good application. So the time period I give people is 3 months ahead. So that's why I place the 3 months before. Now, how are applications evaluated in the context of study abroad journey? So schools, I would say, depending on the school you're applying to, do not necessarily look at your GPA. I've mentored people who had first class, some were valedictorians, they applied for programs, they didn't get the funding, not even talk about the admissions and other stuffs. And so it's important that every component of your application document speaks to your level of experience and enthusiasm for the program. So they call something holistic application review. And so let's say I have a very good personal statement. I have good recommendation letters. And maybe I lack a test score. I have a good GPA, transcript, research, and work and life experiences. The graduate school admits me, regardless of me not having the test scores. And so you need to also measure some of these things. If you're applying for a program and probably say, oh, we are requesting for a GRE to get the funding, it means that if you have a very good GRE score, automatically qualifies you for the funding. The other programs don't even think around the GPA you hold. I've mentored people who had a very low GPA, like 2.1 from University of Cape Coast. I asked them to do the West evaluation. They had a very good one. They applied for the school, they had funding, and then they came to the state. So they are looking at your personal statements. I'll be discussing each of these one after the other in the next slides. And the recommendation letters. Now, there's a caveat with respect to recommendation letters, and I'm not speaking just to tarnish the image of faculty members or people I've worked with, I've seen in the University of Cape Coast or probably in Ghana. As having served as a president for the Leading Student Association of Ghana, I traveled to most of the institutions in Ghana and also the public ones to be able to talk to professors and faculty members about studying abroad opportunities for people, maybe in Finland, Sweden, and other countries for the students in religious studies. And one of the things I realized is that they kind of had a template, right? So they have a template where if I thought, let's say, Kofi and Kofi comes, I just put Kofi's details there and then I give it to Kofi that is there. And that's the same thing that is going to be given to Amma. So this was my experience. When I was at UCC, I saw 5 of my colleagues who came there for a recommendation letter. And normally they do it through the department. So you need someone who can actually sit down to give you a very solid recommendation letter. Why? I realized that the same school I was actually applying to, Ohio University, the 5 people are also applying to the same program. And when I checked the recommendation letters that were written for the 3 of them, the same thing. The only thing that changed were their name, their index numbers, and other things. Then I thought it was to change the master's to a PhD. And then the same professor I was going to use for my recommendation letters, I stopped. So normally I had my recommendation letters coming from professional recommenders like my faculty officer, because I was working with him. Professor Sasofo Kantanka also gave me some. Reverend Sister Alatudensia, my boss, Dr. Idris Saibu. So I was using different people and also people who are already in the state. I was able to connect with people through LinkedIn. And that's why I secured 3 of my academic mentors. And one was a college president here in the United States. And so whenever he actually shares the recommendation he wrote for me, I felt so good because like it's kind of 2 to 3 pages. And there are a lot of things this man has actually written in there for me, right? So I challenge folks, talk to the faculty members that are writing your recommendation letters for you. Some of the schools have a structure that they are supposed to follow. You can have a very good GPA, but your recommendation letter can actually lead you to you being denied, either for funding or for admission. And so, if you have all these things set, and I believe you are good to now start your whole application journey. I think I still have some 3 slides to go over. Now, let me go with writing a strong statement of purpose, because that's the most important thing in this journey. Aside the GPA and other things, transcripts, we do have them. Now, there's always a way of writing a personal statement or statement of purpose for your graduate school application. I always say that if you are writing this, the question in it is personal. So don't use artificial intelligence like ChatGPT and the rest. You can use maybe Quillbot and Grammarly to kind of paraphrase the content that you do have. And so before you start writing your personal statement, ask yourself some of these questions. What are my specific career and academic goals? How has my past prepared me for this? Have I done any impactful things that I can include in this personal statement I'm writing? Do I have adequate knowledge about the program I am also applying for? And how confident am I to succeed in this graduate program? What are the skills I come with and the knowledge that I come with that will help me succeed in this program? And then revise, and get feedback. So the first thing I talk about is that define specific career and academic goals. How do you get it? Look at the program you're applying for. If you're applying for a program like mathematics, automatically your most immediate career goal can be, or academic goal can be, maybe if I'm done with my master's in mathematics, I'm looking into getting a PhD. That can be a long-term career goal. Your short-term career goal is probably using the knowledge you gain from the mathematics program to do maybe a data scientist job or any other thing. So you define your career goal and then your academic goals as well. And then you come and talk about your past. So the past can actually be any kind of work experiences you have. If I'm applying for a program such as my field of study, higher education and student affairs, when I was in UCC, I was doing a lot of stuff with leadership, and then also trying to support orientation and as well as residential staffs in Vaco Hall, other halls, and all that. So if I'm actually applying for this, some of my personal statements will work around the experiences I come with it. Oh, I was teaching students, I mentored students this way. Some of them were able to acquire this GPA. Some of them are currently successful. They are here. I did this orientation, which had a number of maybe 1,000 attendees, blah, blah, blah. I took that. You put all these ones part because it's just like you are trying to summarize your resume just to speak to your personal statement or your statement of purpose. And then I always talk to people to include impactful personal stories. It's always great because you actually personalize the thing. And sometimes people start with growing up as a child. That has become the norm of ChatGPT. So when people see the way in which we write our statement of purposes, it makes them think that, oh, this student is not really good for our program, regardless of the GPA that you hold. And now they have different ways of detecting these, AI content generating and other stuffs. So we want to also add impactful stories. I always say we are Christians, even though in this journey, you need to kind of, one way or the other, cook a lie about something you've done. Just be careful. The lie you are putting there is something you can actually escape, right? And if you have actually done a lot, it doesn't really matter the information you are putting there, as long as you have a story to tell. Either the story is now, something in the past, or futuristic, you can always put it there, right? And so if I'm currently applying for a PhD, I want to revive STEM education in Ghana. That's my focus, right? So I'll just basically focus on that one to write the impact I want to make. Now, demonstrate knowledge in the field that you are in. Let's say you did your bachelor's in nursing. You're now coming to do gerontology, right? You can actually talk about some of the courses you did that, piqued your interest in this program or ignited your passion for these studies and this program you're applying for. And then some training you have received academically that has prepared you for that. And this training can either be your research, a research experience you've done. And most often, most of us actually do one way or the other a research in our bachelor's before we graduate, unless some few people who decide to do a coursework. So we want to talk about your research. Now, when you are talking about your research, these people want to look at one thing. Every research problem is supposed to solve a problem in the community, right? So let's say I did a research during my undergraduate around integration of information communication technology, ICT, in teaching and learning of history. Now, when I went to Infante Pim Senior High School and I was doing my internship, I demonstrated that. I looked at, oh, let me be giving these students notes. So I gave them notes for them to go and read. Then when they came to the class, I gave them a test to take. And I realized that their performance was very low. Then I came to the next week where I gave them some form of presentations, PowerPoint. I was using PowerPoint to teach them throughout the week, where I was giving them documentaries, audiovisuals, and other things. And I realized that at the end of it, the students did so well in the assessment I gave them. Then it means that I've actually found a problem, right, in the field of maybe history. So I was focused on integrating ICT in teaching and learning of history. Then when we did that, all the schools that we selected for our study, I recommended to them that they have a lab. If they have a computer, kind of computer office or also a lab, they should dedicate at least 2 hours to helping these students in history come to the classroom to take their classes, each class. So Infante Pim was actually implementing that, which actually supported it. So if I'm writing my knowledge I have in the field of my education from University of Cape Coast, that becomes a very critical thing for me to talk about. So it was not just that I did the research and then I laid it down like that. The research impacted something. So either you are in nursing, you are in mathematics, you are whichever field you find yourself in, try to make sure to shape your research topic. And it can just there be one, paragraph within a space of 200 words or maybe 150 words, where you are talking about how your research that you did has impacted either the community or the study area that you selected. And that's very, very impactful. It's helped people to be able to get into the programs. I also want to say that when you have done all this and then you meet them to discuss with them, please sound confident and humble as well, right? Sound confident. Sometimes I've met people where when they meet you, I had this GPA, I'm this, I'm that, I'm older than you, I'm just a very small boy. I'm just going to turn my 30s, a very small boy that I'm making my life through Christ. So I always say that if Christ was very, humble to us, how much more me, human being first is. So let me humble myself, learn under the people I'm supposed to get my tutelage from. When I'm done, I appreciate them, and I also pass it on to the next generation. So it's very, very important that regardless of how old you are, your top GPA, my GPA was there 3.0, and I'm so proud of my GPA. But someone is having like a 4.0, 3.9. Last August to December, I had like 3 students from our school, University of Cape Coast, and one from Legon, who reached out to me and they were like, oh, they need mentorship for them to get funding. And then I was telling them that, okay, I've given you an assignment to go and write a writing sample, do this, and who am I to give him or her an assignment to go and do? And I'm like, okay, I just want you to know that, see, you can put all these things aside, be humble for you to get your funding when you come to the US. If you come to the US, you don't know Festus again. You can do anything that you want to do. You are done. But then some of them were just so proud of themselves. And as I speak to you now, they are still navigating where to get funding. But those that were very humble, and I believe some of them may probably be here, had good fundings, and then God being so good, they'll be joining us in the States in August. It always takes a humble person to succeed. And that's my philosophy I've learned from my dad, who's another of the church. So make sure you humble yourself, seek advice, always ask questions so that you improve. And just as I said, don't submit anything to the school unless you've made someone revise it for you. You've gotten a good feedback from those things that you are putting up there. Then you submit your applications. Now, the final tips have talked about everything. I just want to rush through so that I'll take questions and then address them. I didn't really go deeper into the SOP, the resume, the CV, and other stuff because I have a link which it can actually lead you there for you to get a lot of samples I've compiled together to assist those who are interested in doing this whole graduate studies. And so I'll put the link here at the end of the meeting, or maybe in the chat, so that people can reference that and then have it. And you can also reach out to us for also advices and support. So
Hello,
final
sir.
tips.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, please. So, presiding elder has asked me to inform you that God willing, next week you have another session, so you can structure your presentation well and go detail.
Oh,
But
okay.
for today, maybe after the two slides, we can pause and take questions. God willing, next week we'll
Exactly.
have another session.
Thank you, Papa.
Mm.
Great. So the final tips, just as I said, you need to start early and stay organized. So from here, from this meeting, even though we'll be meeting the next days or weeks ahead, just start looking at the schools, start looking at people to connect with to seek support and the mentorship, and then from the next sessions that we'll be having, you kind of start having a good story to give. So I always want to tell you that I believe in your unique story throughout this graduate school application. Either you want to pursue your master's in Ghana or in any state or country. And so I'll just take questions here. If you want to reach out to me more or for questions and other steps, these are my social media handles. And I'm very top when it comes to LinkedIn. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn with questions. And I believe I'm also on the church platform. If you have any question, you can also message me. Yes. So thank you all. And I appreciate the church leadership for giving me the opportunity to share my knowledge. Thank you.
Wow, wow. God bless you, Sir Festus. In fact, you've done a wonderful job this evening, and we are very grateful. Yeah, the emojis and everything attest to the fact that, in fact, we've really enjoyed your presentation this evening. God bless you, sir. Okay, so we will now allow for questions. So please, if you have any question you want to ask, this is the time you can ask, and then our brother will help us answer them. So please, as question and answer time. So if you have any question, you can raise up your hand, and then we'll call you to ask your question. Thank you. So I'm waiting. Please, who has a question? All right. Um, they can add them. Please, you can ask your question, please.
Okay, so Mr. Festus, thank you very much for your presentation. I really enjoy it. I want to ask that in the process, you recommend that I have to, if you do your application, you are doing it to get in touch with some people from there. But several times I have tried getting in touch with some of the professors and the lectures, that you realize that when you test them, some of them don't respond. So how do you like go about those? Or is there any a particular way that maybe like you have to approach it so that for them to respond? Because I've given some email to some people, I think 2 years ago, and even last, but they don't respond. So you do your
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I mean, contacting faculty members isn't a bad thing, depending on the program that you're applying for. Some programs, there's the need for you to reach out to some faculty members. Others, it's not a requirement. I would just say that if you are looking in a context of the US, you don't necessarily have to kind of reach out to the faculty members, and then if they are not responding, just reach out to the program coordinator, right? Sometimes their contacts are also there where you can, call them during the time, the day to, oh, my name is so and so person from Ghana. I'm interested in this program and I had a question around this. Is it a requirement for me to secure a faculty member or a supervisor before I put in the application? Some of them, the nice email they can response they can give is that, oh, you can reach out or you can mention those faculty members in your statement of purpose or your personal statement. And so then you can go ahead and look at what the faculty members are doing and then say it that way. Other sometimes too, the content of the email we write determines if the person should respond. Because most often, if you are very new to this journey, your content of your email is basically about questions that they have already answered in the program website. Sometimes they have it in their, a site where you go and see questions that have been answered. And so you just have to know that the question you are asking is something that they have, the website hasn't answered for you. And so if you send such an email, they actually look at it and then they delete it. And I'm talking based on an experience that some two faculty members shared on a post I made on LinkedIn about that. And so sometimes you need to also take a very critical look at that. And so if you are not reaching them, anytime they have an information session, that's an opportunity for you to join the information session to ask any questions you have about the program. And I always advise people even to look at the information session, which normally starts from the month of July all the way to December. Most programs are having information session for their programs. Ask questions, that any doubt you have about the program, and then they will be able to answer you during those Zoom meetings. So that's the advice I'll give you. Don't give up. Keep emailing till one person responds. That's what I would say.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. You've answered the question. So please, is there any question? Okay, Gladys. Sister
Okay, thank
Gladys. Ah, okay.
you
Yeah,
very
Sister
much.
Gladys. You're welcome. You can ask your question. Sister Gladys.